What's up everybody, Jaxxsin here. Today I want to talk about a fun kick-ass game I've been playing called Dead Cells by Twinmotion, a French developer, fucking super fun game, great looking game, soundtrack is fucking stellar. The thing I want to talk about most though, the thing that appeals to me most with this title, is it's got a little bit more rogue legacy and a lot less brutal, if that makes sense. Now, what I mean by that, I'll explain it. I guess I shouldn't say if that makes sense. I'm about to clarify it, so fuck me in the ass. Anyway, so what I mean by that is rogue legacy, it has the random maps, it has the random items, you know, kind of you never know what you're really going to get, but there's also a lot of control with the player, and it almost feels like after every run, after every error, if you did your best, you know, you see some improvement. And it might take 4 or 5 errors your first playthrough, but at some point it feels like you've made progress. You're getting farther. You have more things available to your character, more level ups, things like that, right? And a lot of roguelike games, like Brutal, for instance, I don't even know if it's necessarily Necropolis. I don't know if those necessarily fall under the same category, but I feel like there's a lot less feeling of impact from your previous playthroughs in those games as opposed to like a Rogue Legacy. And what Dead Cells does is it takes page out of Rogue Legacy's book with that, and not much else. A lot of the things in this game are pretty unique, but in the aspect of progression, I always felt like at the end of every run, I felt like I had advanced. I felt like I had unlocked something to help me on my next playthrough, and now where I've almost got everything unlocked, I'm near the end of the game, I've reached the final boss. It feels like the progression has been consistent and has been helpful towards me being able to work through this crazy game. Now, the way it's laid out is a lot different, so don't picture like Rogue Legacy in the way it's laid out, because Rogue Legacy, as you know, is just like one big map and you go and explore it and fill it out, and you know, you got to do it in one character, and blah 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 blah, you kill boss, blah blah blah. You know how Rogue Legacy works. So this isn't like that. It isn't like a Metroid or something like that where it's one map and you're slowly going back and forth. No, the way this works is it's on a track system, so you'll have a level 1, a level 2, but it's broken into sections, and the cool part about this is they split off. So one level could have 2 exits, you know, and one of those levels on the side exit could have 2 exits, and so forth and so forth. As you can see from this picture, I mapped out the first half of the game to the first boss, and as you can see, like, it's very cool the way it works. And of course, some of these areas are not going to be accessible your first right out of the gate playthrough, because you're going to have to take on some elite mobs, which are just souped up versions of the regular mobs in the game. You're going to have to take on some souped up elite mobs in order to get 2 upgrades, one which will allow you to grow vines, and one which will allow you to teleport from one point to another. And that opens up the beginning of the map and kind of gives you a beginner's track still. It gives you like, oh, well, if I want to go this way, which is a little bit more advanced, and then I can go this way, which is super advanced, you know what I mean? And kind of hard. But as you level up, like I said at the beginning, the progression is such that it carries over that feeling of, you know, you feel like you've definitely made progress, you're feeling better, you're unlocking more weapons, so there's more options available to you within the dungeons, you know, as you go along. So this is in early access, so the combat is really good. The combat's really good. I feel like the combat's balanced. They're still trying to tweak with the buffs and debuffs on the damage and stuff, like I read in some patch notes. The one thing I would say, let's say like for 10 seconds, let's just imagine that I have a lifeline to the developer and they're actually going to give a shit what my stupid ass fucking has to say. My only suggestion would be, I think it needs more bosses. It definitely, and I don't mean elites, I don't mean souped up regular mobs. I mean, it needs a couple more unique bosses just in this first half of the game. And like I said, this is early access, so they may intend to put them there. I don't know how close to the finished build this is. From what I read, it's, you know, 6 months to a year out from its official release, so they could definitely add bosses. So, but that would be my one big critique right now. Another one I would have to say, just one more thing, is some of the weapons just feel a little underwhelming to me in comparison to some of the more overwhelming and powerful side options you have available and it kind of leaves you with this feeling like you're wanting to invest in just a few of the weapons because they are the most effective weapons. They're just better weapons, and it kind of leaves you not wanting to use all this other stuff. And with the and that goes for the art. So the way it works is you have your main weapon and then an offhand weapon, and you can mix and match these as you will. You could have 2 swords if you wanted. You could have 2 bows if you wanted. So you could go pure range build, pure melee build. Like I was playing around, I got the fire mace and I had the flammable sword, which coats them in oil, flammable oil, and then you hit them with the torch and it sets them on fire and it deals a bunch of damage. It's just, it feels like something that's one instance with the fire sword that oils them up and then it burns them for more damage. I feel like it's underwhelming when you compare it to like the twin daggers or even the bleed sword. So I feel like there needs to be, you know, and you can get lucky procs with the weapons too. That's cool. As you level up, as you go deeper into you get higher level weapons, and they can proc like unique things. Like sometimes they'll throw a bomb every time you swing the weapon. You know, you'll throw a bomb. Sometimes it'll do a dagger every time you swing your weapon. So you can quickly turn a sword into a ranged weapon. You know, it's very fucking cool with the way that they've done that. And so then you have your R trigger and your left trigger, and those will use your, you know, there's turrets, there's damage buffs, there's like stealth attacks that, you know, it'll stealth you behind them. There's all sorts of little nifty things, you know, a flamethrower turret. There's a magnet grenade that's like electricity, and it pulls them all into one place, and then you throw a turret there, and it's crazy OP. It's some ridiculous shit. And you can get those that combo off each other too. Like I had one that every time they were on fire, my magnet grenade would do more. So I just throw my fire turret down, throw my magnet grenade down where they were, and it would pull them in, and the fire would burn them, and it would deal more damage from my other grenade in the process, it's very cool how they do that. But there's a lot of these items, you know, I'm talking about the really good ones. There's a lot that I just don't use, that I don't feel like they're even that great. I feel like they don't do enough damage. Either that or like the casting is too slow in the case of the lightning and the fire. Like it just doesn't feel feasible, except for almost a situational sort of thing when you'd just be better off to go with like a composite bow or some, you know, throwing daggers that will bleed and auto target flying enemies, things like that. And it's just, that's my two things, really. My only two things is I feel like it's a little boss light. Like there's, as far as I know, there's only 2 bosses in the current build that's playable right now. There's only 2 bosses as far as I know. And I've reached the second one, and I looked up to get what his name was and like see a strategy on him, and someone had put last boss. So I'm assuming he's the last boss of the current playable build. Now that said, if you're a speedrunner, you're going to really get a kick out of this game. You're rewarded for going fast with side passages that the only ones I've been able to reach lead to treasure and loot. But for all I know, there's certain side passages that might shortcut you through half the game, you know what I mean? So if you're fast enough, you can get through this game. And so it rewards you for going fast, but it doesn't necessarily penalize you for going slow. And I found that was really nice when I finally was able to get into the first hatch and see what was in there. And it was just a blueprint and some gold. And then after that, every time I made it, it was just gold. I was like, oh, okay. So it gives you a little bit of a, you know, it gives you a little bit of a, you know, buff, a little bit of a head start above someone who's going slow, but not by much, like not a whole lot. And so that was cool. So it rewards you for going fast, but it doesn't really penalize you hardcore for going slow. Like I've been taking my time filling out the map, you know, seeing where everywhere goes, seeing where you can go from those places, and it's been a really good time. And as far as I'm concerned, it was definitely worth $14 to be able to play what they have available. And I mean, it runs really well. There is a few, the Promenade of the Condemned, that place has a couple of issues with frame rates. It also has the most epic of fucking music ever in any game ever I've heard in a minute. It's very memorable. It's as memorable as the Skellige song, I'll just say that. But that level had some problems. I had like probably a dozen or so hard crashes, and it was usually while I was trying to capture footage with my graphics card, so I don't know if that may have overloaded it or had something to do with it. But so I mean, for what it is, for 14 bucks, for what it is, it's pretty fucking great. It's one to keep your eyes on. If you like these 2D old schooly filling games, this is an excellent one. It's got Souls-like combat where if you get hit hard as shit, but then they throw in the, you know, the Bloodborne rally mechanic so you can actually hit people and get some of your health back from your life bar. As far as I know, that has to be one of your 2 primary attacks. Your tools won't do that. But it gives you, so, you know, it gives you the tools available. There's a dodge. There is a hill that you'll be able to unlock and get more and more and more of, up to a maximum of 4 hills, which makes it so you can pretty much go any track you want in the early part of the game. You know what I mean? And that was when I was able to finally start clearing the map and, like, figuring all this out and working out where you went. And so you know, and I've got the first half of the game mastered. After the second boss, it's still a little sketchy because it's just dependent on what you get, you know what I mean? Because like I said, some of the items, you know, you got to keep your eye out for some of these better items, because some of them just feel really underwhelming, and you want to unlock them though, because, well, I mean, you're forced to in the beginning. And I mean, the shields, I feel like the shields need to do something more than what they currently do. You can get a parry with them, but I'm bad at it, and it's just not worth it with what else you have available, where I could go ranged, you know, and get myself a ranged weapon, the throwing knives that will bleed them. And it's a better strategy overall to just go with a ranged weapon than go with a shield that, you know, is good for a parry, but you have to land it. And if there's multiple enemies, you know, odds are you're going to block one and parry it, but still get hit by another. I don't know. I didn't like the shields. There needs to be something worked out there too. But that's my overall, like, just... And this is early access, so none of this shit is set in stone. But even with all that, it's still a fucking fun game. It's beautiful. Very beautiful. Some of the sights in this game, just jaw-dropping in a way. Some of the songs, like I said, that one on the Promenade of the Condemned Man, it's a great song. Like, I just was turning off the sound effects and stuff and running around in there just the other night when I was getting ready. Because I just play these when I get ready for bed, because they just kind of make me tired anyway. Like Risk of Rain, games like this. Anyway, so those are my thoughts on it. It's for 14 bucks, it's worth looking at. I don't know what they're gonna charge for it when it comes out, but I'm gonna keep playing it. You know, I've got access to it now, so I'm gonna keep playing it and keep my eye on it. And if anything, you know, happens, I mean, I'm sorry, but if it releases at $14 and it's just got the 2 bosses, it's probably worth it. But it still feels, like I said, like it feels boss light. If that's really the last boss, it feels really boss light right now, and it could use at least 2 more. At least 2 more, and you could put them in the side hatches, you know, and have them completely optional, you know, so people who can speedrun can still get an expedient way to the end of the game. I don't know. It definitely felt like there needed to be a little bit more bosses, because I enjoyed the 2 bosses I fought. Were really fun. I've only made it to the final one twice, and so, you know, I haven't really had much practice on him, but it's fun. It's fun. It's a good time. Thought I'd share it with you guys. Hope you enjoyed. Hope I answered any lingering questions you may have had about it. And until next time, keep kicking ass, stay safe, stay awesome, fucking tear it up, and just have fun, everybody. I'm half asleep right now, by the way. Good night, everybody.